Do you have anything for me today, or have I got all this stuff? I got a couple of emails. Would you like to hear them?
We could do whatever you want. We have questions. We have emails, apparently.
Wrote a song about it. Like to hear it? Here it goes. I've got another email from Jake, our private investigator down in Starkville, Mississippi. Now, the folks may remember, we've been reading a lot of this on the Drive-Thru. Some of it may have been on the Experience. But, of course, you've got some kind of under-the-table deal going on with Charlie from Starkville, Mississippi, where he gets all the question time on the program here.
He didn't have a single question on last week's show.
Well, that's only because you've been shamed and suitably chastened about favoring him, and I think there's obviously a deal going on. And we got an email from Jake here a few weeks ago that he is training to be a private investigator, and what he was going around Starkville, Mississippi, trying to find Charlie, because that's where he lives too, Jake. And he wore a Cornette face shirt. He asked everybody he knew named Charlie if they knew me. He's been trying to find Charlie, right? And he hadn't yet, but we got an update. Jake says, "Hi, Jim. Hope all is well. Just wanted to give you an update. As you can imagine, since the world has been turned upside down, it has also put a damper on my search for Charlie. Despite his generous offer to join him for lunch, because remember, he did say that Charlie's favorite restaurant, the guy that ran it, was a fucking asshole. But anyway, despite his generous offer to join him for lunch, all restaurants in Starkville have shut down their dine-in services, so it doesn't look like he and I will be breaking bread anytime soon. And besides, that's no way to milk an angle. I'm trying to earn a degree. If my quarry were to suddenly announce that they'll meet me for lunch, that would be akin to putting Goldberg against Hogan on Nitro with no build-up. In all seriousness, I hope Charlie and all the Cult of Cornette members are staying safe and exercising caution during this difficult time. In the spirit of isolation, I do have an inquiry. We've often heard you speak about your favorite comic books and superheroes, but I've never heard you talk about movies that much. You seem to be a fan of classic horror and sci-fi. I enjoy the Universal monster movies of the 30s and 40s, the insane monster and alien invasion movies of the 50s, and the best Vincent Price horrors of the 60s. So, Jim, what would be some of your recommendations for classic movies to pass the time during this quarantine? Also, to Brian Last, yes, I really am from Starkville, and even I don't know where it is. Just up the road from parts unknown Mississippi would be my best guess. And Jake is indeed my real name. If I were to pick an alias, I wouldn't choose to share one with a noted piss drinker."
Very good. Very good.
So we need to talk about that for a second. He listed a ton of great movies, the classic Universal horrors, the wave of 50s sci-fi and alien invasion, and then the cool Hammer films and Vincent Price stuff of the 60s. Those are classic horror films. But my favorite monster was always Frankenstein. And I started watching horror movies before I even found wrestling. So I don't know if I thought that Frankenstein would be a good wrestler or if the wrestlers would make a good Frankenstein. I'm not sure, but it's something, just the big, I always like the Hulk and the Thing, in Marvel Comics. I like the big guys that like to fucking smash shit up. But I like Dracula too. He's spooky in his own way. The Mummy was cool, although he didn't get a lot of on-screen time as the Mummy in the original, picture at least. But besides, I never could get into the Invisible Man. I wasn't really scared of him. He was still just a guy, so he could pop in on you without you knowing it and fucking watch you, naked taking a shit or whatever. That may have been his superpower, but what could he really do to you besides sneak up on you?
The best thing with the Invisible Man was his cameo at the end of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein.
Which was the voice of Vincent Price.
Which is such a cool movie because you have Bela Lugosi. You have, the actual guys in there. Fantastic movie.
The best Abbott and Costello movie, along with maybe Buck Privates, their first starring flick. Do you know what the first appearance of Abbott and Costello in the movies was?
I don't.
1940s One Night in the Tropics, and they got second billing, but they stole the movie, and Buck Privates was rushed into production and came out right before the United States entered World War II. So, and boom, and from then on, the next 15 years, they were a license to print money. But yeah, and plus, the old spooky, the lesser known horror films of the early 30s, like the Freaks and the Old Dark. Well, I don't say lesser known. Everybody knows Freaks now, but the Old Dark House and White Zombie and some of those, the cheaper ones that Universal passed on, but they still have some oomph to them. And also my favorite 50s sci-fi movie, at least, The Day the Earth Stood Still, tied with The Thing from Another World. Who was the Thing from Another World in the original 1951 version?
Matt Hardy.
No. He can't teleport himself through time, just space.
You don't know that.
James Arness played the creature. Huh. Yes, that was James Arness in because nobody knew who he was at that time. But he was big enough that he, fit the fucking suit, right? And he was the carrot monster from another planet in The Thing from Another World. And then just a scant, 4 years later, they wanted John Wayne to star in Gunsmoke. And he said, no fucking way, I ain't doing television. But there's this guy I know named James Arness. He'd be perfect for it.
And then fast forward to 1984, you call Bill Watts Marshall Dillon on Mid-South Wrestling.
I think the only insult I hit Watts with, he loved it when I said I'm going to have your geeky-looking son Joel swabbing out toilets and selling Midnight Express T-shirts. But the only insult I ever hit him with was I said Bill Watts is a guy, he likes to think of himself as walking tall. Well, he's so tall the top of his head's coming through his hair. I don't think he had the male pattern baldness. I don't think he liked that line. But that's why the slap was laid in extra good. My ears rang for 30 minutes off that fucking slap. Anyway, but you got anything for a show here? For heaven's sake, I'm doing all the work here. I got another email. Would you like to hear it?
No.
Like to hear it? Here it goes. Hey, what do you mean no?
Real quick on monster movies. It was on my mind recently. I don't know if you ever would have seen it, but to people my age, it's a classic. Did you ever see Monster Squad?
Monster Squad.
Came out like 1987 or 88.
Oh, I didn't see any movies for 10 years during that period of time.
You should check that out. I mean, I think you may actually like it. It's a really cool movie. It's about a bunch of kids obsessed with monsters, and it just so happens these monsters return to Earth. All the classic Universal monsters, but because it wasn't a Universal film, they had to change some of the names. So it's, Gillman is there and, various things. But
if that is indeed your real name, you monster.
Yeah, but it's the Mummy, the Wolfman, Dracula, Frankenstein, the creature from the Black Lagoon. They're all there. And these kids have to find a way to get them out of society, out of the universe. Really cool movie, including a big baby face turn for your favorite, Frankenstein.
Well, he was always a baby face to me. He was misunderstood. He just wanted to go in the hermit's house and have a cigar with him and be a friend.
The classic line from this movie that people probably quote the most is, instead of using the word balls, they call them nards in the movie. So at one point, the Wolfman is like cornered this kid, and the other kid's behind him is like, kick him in the nards, kick him in the nards. And he goes, the Wolfman doesn't have nards. He goes, do it. And he kicks him. He goes, Wolfman has nards. Because Wolfman bends over in pain.
Well, it's not Wolf Woman. Why wouldn't you think that Wolfman has nards? Because even a man who is pure in heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf when the wolfbane blooms and the moon is full and bright and his balls are hanging right down between his legs.
You need to watch Monster Squad.
Remind me of that the next time we do a Manscaped spot.
Monster Squad or nards?
No, the Wolfman's balls.
Okay.
Because that would... You've got Wolfman balls, ladies and gentlemen. I got news for you. Manscaped ain't even paying me, but I'm bringing them up there because that Lawnmower 3.0 will... I've met the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Was it Matt Hardy?
No. God damn it. What is your fixation on me?
No, I don't know. Who was it?
He can't be everywhere in history. Rico Browning. Huh. He is the only classic Universal monster still alive, and he's got to be in his 90s now because I think I met him 10, 12 years ago. He was 80 easily. He did the swim. He was a champion swimmer, and they recruited him to do the underwater swimming scenes in that outfit because they needed a champion swimmer, and they couldn't have bubbles and they couldn't have an air apparatus, so he had to be underwater like 3 minutes, 4 minutes at a time. So
he was pretty graceful.
Yeah, well,
for a monster. Yeah.
Once he did those movies, He did the creature walks among us, Return of the Creature, whatever, and then he ended up with a career doing underwater scenes for various movies in Hollywood. And he was at a sci-fi convention we were at. But see, that's the thing. You know, all the comic conventions now, if they'd had shit like that when I was a kid, because I don't care about meeting the goddamn cast of the fucking Breakfast Club. Who gives a shit, right? If I could have met Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi was dead long before I was even born, but Boris Karloff and Lon Chaney Jr. and stars like that would have been a big deal. I would have paid money for that. I don't give a fuck about the guy that's been in a movie, 15 years ago.
We never got The Creature Meets Esther Williams. That would have been a great movie.
Oh, everybody now is Googling Esther Williams.
No one is.
I bet Fernando Lamas is probably still Googling her. See, I can go with, nobody has a fucking clue what we're talking about, but I can fucking hang with you on these esoteric people. Anyway, I got another email. You want to hear it?
Yes.
Good. You gave the right answer this time.